Discord announcement page, and so I'll go everywhere else.
What is going on here? Oh, this one, and now
Never mind. I'm throwing
this
you
one.
off.
Standing stone, I feel the memory of the earth. Voices rising from the ancient dark,
No biting.
calling fire into rebirth. The old ones speak through breaking light, through wind that carves the sacred lore. They lift the past into the present, to guide the path we walk once more. Bringing the past to the present, for a future flashed in flame, where wisdom flows like rivers old, and the storms recall our name, where creation stirs like thunder, where the old universe draws near, and the awe of the wide and ancient sky cuts through doubt and fear.
Every heartbeat is a promise, carried forward from the stars. Every sunrise holds a secret, hidden deep in who we are.
I feel the strength of all before me, ancestor, mountain, storm, and sea. Their power arises in my spirit. Their knowledge walks
Okay,
with
link is live.
me. Bringing the past to the present, for a future fierce and true, where the wisdom of the ages flows in me and flows in you, where the stones awake in power, where the sky reveals the whole, and the wonder of the endless cosmos sets the fire in the soul.
Bringing the past to the present, so the future learns to
First
shine in the dawn of life's great mystery. The ancient strength is mine.
Hello, hello. Where are we? We are.
I don't know, man. I was hoping you could tell us.
There we are.
I don't have a clue. I haven't even. Let's
Dave's
put our
not
hair
here,
down.
man.
Dave's not
He's
here.
not here, man. I don't.
Open
All
up.
right, let's see.
Come
I
on,
can answer
man.
that. Hang on. I can answer that question. It's All right. Where are we? No, wait a minute. Yeah, hang on. Where are we here? What time is it now? What are you this moment? Now, any of our watchers who can tell me what novel or movie that's from, I don't know what you'll get, but we'll give you some extra bonus points.
I
That's
can
where
even
we
do.
are. We're here, dude.
I can even do a drum roll to the end.
No, you didn't. Yes, you did.
Although
You're
I've never
playing.
seen the film, I think that is Pulp Fiction.
So that was The Way of the Peaceful Warrior
Okay.
by Dan Millman. When so there's this older character. He's kind of like a mentor character, and he may or may not have some sort of superhuman powers, but that's just sort of a mystery of the book. He appears to be an old gentleman that works at a gas station, and sort of owns the gas station. Anyhow, when he's taking the
I
young
think
young
he's my
gymnast,
ex-father-in-law.
yeah, he's like a gruff old dude. They call him Sock though, because he's got all this wisdom and these weird sort of abilities. And anyway, he's grabbing Daniel, the main character, he grabs him by the shoulder. They're walking over this bridge in a stream, and a deep stream like that you could swim. And he said, "Meet me here at this time. Be there." And anyway, Dan's got his own shit going on, and he shows up late, and Sock just grabs him and fucking throws him over the bridge and into the water, and starts walking away. And he goes running up to him like, "What the hell was that?" He said, "You got to take out the trash." And then he teaches him those three things about being present in the moment. It's where are you here? What time is it now? What are you this moment? And then you go from there.
Well, there are more questions, though. Many more.
Yeah, I don't know. It's simple. It works for me. So I don't know where we are,
Who, what,
Ricardo,
where,
but
why,
I think
when, how much, how often, why the hell not?
I think I got the PR part of my job done, man.
Yeah.
Let me make sure I include groups here in.
While you do
Facebook.
that, I have a simple
Go.
question for Rick that is not related to what we are going to talk today, but I found it interesting. Someone decided to send it to me, and so basically what it goes is there is this individual that it's saying that once upon a time when the Mongols were trying to invade Japan, we know that they failed because
Twice.
the weather became crazy, typhoons. What did you say, Rick? I'm sorry.
Twice.
Lice.
They failed twice. Yeah.
Two
I
times.
think about 100
twice.
years apart. Yeah.
They did twice, yes. And so this fellow is saying that the typhoons sent some of the fleet into the coast of the Americas.
North Pacific.
Yeah, and so
yeah.
the Mongols would be here by that time in large numbers, because he said even if 10% of the fleet was pushed into the Americas, that it would be a lot of people, and that caused a lot of problems here in the Americas at the time. So I just found it funny because
Well,
you
I don't argue
explained.
that.
Go on.
Yeah, I do not disagree that part of that fleet, both times, although the second time it was almost none survived. That first time, several survived, and I'm pretty sure they made it into what we call Puget Sound now, because there's pottery and all kinds of stuff in that area that would indicate not only that origin, but also that part of the timeline.
No?
Then we also have there's also the Chasing Dragons book that just came out 5 years ago, give or take. The 1421 expedition, as other folks have called it, although it actually started in 1407. But
by whom?
the Chinese came to America from the other way, around the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic to Gulf of America, we call it now.
And why didn't they go
The Gulf.
directly to the west coast? Wouldn't be much easier.
They made stops in the Saudi Arabia. They made stops in India, Saudi Arabia, Madagascar. There wasn't much going on in Egypt in that time. And they went around Africa. They actually went into Naples, Italy. They established diplomatic relations for a very short period of time. And then when that armada made it back to China, there was a new ruler. He burned all the ships.
Yes. Yeah. So
He said,
stupid.
"No, we're closing. We're not doing anything with the rest of the world. China is all we know."
And how impressive would have been that massive fleet and that gigantic boats that Europe had never seen before going in the Mediterranean?
Yeah. Uh, well, actually, they were massive. Some of them were 400, 500 feet long, which was
What?
so far beyond scope of anything in Europe at that time.
Yeah,
However, in I want to say it was 231 BC, give or take, Archimedes designed and the king of um, uh, anyway, Syracuse had it built, and it was called the Syracusia, and it could carry 4,500 people. It had 3 swimming pools. It had active gardens to grow their own vegetables.
well,
It had ballista. It had its own defense systems, everything. And the only sailing it did was from Syracuse on Sicily to Alexandria as a gift to the Ptolemaic emperor of Egypt.
Okay, two things, guys. A couple of technical things. I will say hello to the chat. We've Catman, Sahara, Jacqueline, Ricardo. You're in there. Look at you multitasking. Tree Buddy, Funky Monkey, 432. I don't know who you are, so thank you very much for joining. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Listen, gentlemen, I had an issue with opening the link to Rick's presentation. I mean, I keep getting like just weird pop-ups and virus warnings.
oh no, no. Go to the top. That happened to
Yeah.
me. Go to the
Okay.
top where the
Yeah.
name is and delete the after the forward slash. I had to do that too.
Those numbers.
Yeah, delete that.
Yeah,
That
okay.
takes you to a bogus site for some reason.
Okay. hang
Someone
on.
is using Rick to link to guide to some spam or something. You have to delete those first
no.
numbers.
No.
I'll give you the correct one. I'll put it right here in the
Okay.
because I'm in it. So copy and I'm gonna put it here. In
I mean, what I can do is so I've got it on just the web page. Let me share and let's just see if this works. We can do it like that.
it's already on the studio chat.
Yeah, okay.
It's there.
Well,
That's the very same that I'm
many-
using, and it's not bogus.
Many more tabs. Thanks. Okay, so studio chat, our private chat.
Yes,
in
the
this
private
thing?
chat.
Right. Okay. So there, and I can just click that. Right. So yeah, same site. Okay, same site. But either way, yeah, that's when I'll share when we're ready. Yeah. I was gonna download, but I didn't know the difference between OTP.
No, it doesn't allow you
and-
to download. It doesn't allow. I tried that. I
Okay.
tried that.
Okay. Well, then we're as good as we'll get whenever Rick is there for that presentation. We'll let everybody know. Rick, you can give us kind of the download. This is a presentation of yours. Again, welcome everybody. How's the fucking weather where you are? Is it cold? It's not quite cold here yet, but Rick is facing a snow in himself. So we're just gonna.
Yeah, they're predicting up to 11, 8 to 15, or depends on what model you believe, and I don't believe any of them.
Yeah.
I just got prepared that I'm going to stay here for days.
It's really weird right now. It is, no doubt.
Yeah,
Here
It's
in
right
Alabama.
now it's 11 degrees Fahrenheit outside here.
Yeah, you're at 11, and
15
I'm
mile
at
an hour.
56. I looked at, I was looking at the radar earlier, and it's strange. You can see the whole nation awash, but right down here, there's this cone, man. And I mean, I say that word intentionally because it's almost pointed, where the warmth is coming up from the Gulf. None of it looks right, if I were to give my
Well,
honest opinion about it. But
our, our 15-mile-an-hour winds are coming from the northeast. This is going to be a true nor'easter, even though we're not on the coast. So,
so, so you're in for it. You got the cats there, warm,
I've
keeping you company.
got cats. I can use them as foot warmers if I have to. One of them needs kicked off, and um, I've got propane to cook with and heat with. And I've got gasoline to run the generator, which is how I get all my electricity
Yeah.
when there's snow on my panels. And I've got diesel, which is my supplemental heater. And if I get truly desperate, I have a stove, wood stove that I'd have to go outside to get wood.
Wood stove is my preference, man. Any time I can
Oh yeah,
actually
it
do
is.
that.
But, this,
We've got
this is
gas
not the ideal situation for it.
running for a generator here, but still that does put us at the mercy of the freaking gas company. So it's not even that's not off grid, but should the power go out, it keeps you going hopefully for a little bit.
Yep.
But yeah, you got to have the either diesel or gas backup as well. There's no point with this weather to not have it. Okay, so
So
when you're
background
go,
on this presentation.
yeah, and then before we bring up the visuals, we'll just chat about it for a second, and then we'll actually let you get rolling with it. But you can just give us a little background on what we're going to chat about.
Okay. Well, I prepared this presentation for a conference that was held in Burlington, Wisconsin. I don't even remember what year this was, like 2012, along in there, someplace. And um, at that time, I had built the website where you found this, or where I sent you to last night, Ricardo, thehollowearthinsider.com. Only this is the new hollowearthinsider.com. So the WordPress site is one I built, and I made this presentation for that conference and decided to fit pretty well with the site. So we plugged it in. Anyway, the guy that owned the site, his name was Dennis Crenshaw. He's passed away. He was a victim of COVID treatment. And his son is maintaining the site, keeping it up and running. I gave up on trying to keep up with the spam chat and all that, so it's on its own now. Because it was getting 1,000 spams a day, dude. It was, I don't know how many hits it had. Lost track of the counter, etc. And it got reset a couple times, but it was in the million of hits a year, give or take. So this presentation is taking that wild idea of a hollow earth and giving it a little bit of actual scientific explanation of how it's not only possible, it's required, and what that will mean for science as a whole. Now, I am not a PhD in physics, but I do know my physics pretty well.
So it sounds like
Also,
we're yeah. Go ahead. Let's just keep rolling with this intro. We're not going anywhere. I just kind of wanted to add in for and this is just lead in for you as well, probably wherever you're going. My perspective, and listen, guys watching here at home. They showed you pictures in school in a little book of what was in the middle of the earth. Here's what's actually up. We don't know. We don't know. I mean, we haven't been there. We can rely on data from that we can't see. It's invisible. Basically, we can send waves and we can do magnetic shit, and we can make guesstimates as to perhaps what is there. And those popular and narrative guesstimates are essentially what we've all grown up as thinking is concrete solid fact. Now, I am neither purporting Rick's particular theory. I've never seen it or heard it. I'm not on the side of any hollow earth. I am on the side of truth, though, and just the simple fact of there being large pockets of this earth. I mean, look, we hadn't even been hardly to the bottom of the ocean yet, the deepest parts. There are certainly large hollow pockets alluded to in myth and legend. One would think, if you know physics, there certainly would exist those. Just look at caves, and it's there. So that's my lead in. I always like to give our audience, what I take as a lead in, right? To get myself biting into a theory that at first, sounds or has a traditional knee jerk reaction, when in actuality, there might be just as much science behind it as what we all grew up in elementary school in our Hamilton, Milton fucking school books, with those pictures of certainty when nobody's been there. We can't actually even say for certain there's a molten core, if you really want to get specific about it, in my opinion. Okay, Rick, what are we going to do?
Sure. I'm not sure what that graphic is Ricardo's got up there, but
Yeah, I thought I was going to handle the screen sharing. What are you showing us, boss man?
well,
He's
it's
on
actually a
mute.
pretty
He
good
can't
lead
tell
in
us.
because this is one of the latest interpretations of the seismic data, and it's showing voids within the mantle of the Earth before you get to the core. Big voids in the mantle, and nobody can really explain it. Some
Okay,
people
but
are
so
saying,
for
"Well, it's
instance,
ocean."
how is this data? How is this map made? How is this image made? How do we get this image?
It's a computer interpolation of seismic wave reflections as caught by seismographs in different places on the surface.
Okay, so sound
So
waves,
basically,
invisible
they're
waves.
taking AI, yeah, they're giving AI ears to listen to the crust of the earth.
Okay, so based on invisible wave data, this image shows us what now?
It's showing that there are anomalies in what they thought they knew of the mantle of the earth, that there are voids, or there are some of it is actually voids, apparently.
Well, looks like
But
looks like cancerous
different
growth.
interpret
There, it's not a smooth. It's not
yeah,
a
just
smooth
kind of.
progression from layer
Um,
to layer.
Right, and that was the surprise. They thought that the Earth being 4 billion years old should have been all settled in by now.
Mm.
Well, we're going to go there in a few minutes. Anyway, this interpretation of the data is fairly recent development within the overall science.
Okay.
Not so much with the Hollow Earth folks. We've been saying this for a very long time.
Ricardo, you are on
Okay,
mute,
so
man. I see you trying
That's
to
why
talk.
I'm trying to speak and I can't. I was just trying to say that is called, for anyone that goes to look, low shear velocity zones. Okay, that's the name of that image. That's the name of that animation, and it shows that the mantle, the crust, mantle, and core, all of that is bullshit. It doesn't exist. Right. What exists is enormous voids, and then some parts where the magma actually extends to the crust, but there is enormous voids in the middle of all of this. In fact, they recently, Rick, I don't know if you've looked at this, they released a paper showing that they found a spot on Earth with more water underground. It's not like an ocean, it's mixed with the materials, but it's more water there than all of the oceans combined. Okay?
Yeah,
I heard that as
and
well.
has more minerals in the water.
Sure.
But
Exactly.
So, Ricardo, you said magma. Now, playing the retard in the room, as I like to do, it keeps it simple. How do we know that's magma represented in that data that was gathered by sending invisible waves through
Because
it?
it reflects the waves differently according to its density, right, Rick?
it also absorbs it differently.
Exactly.
There's an index of refraction with any solid object, just like there is for
Okay.
light in optic.
Okay, so density is
And
different, but that does that mean I know the material? Magma is a particular material. It is molten rock, right? Mostly.
yes, That's
So
accurate.
how do I know it's magma?
We don't. We infer it from the reflection.
Okay.
We know what
Okay.
is the absorption and reflection of magma, and it fits with the profile. That's how they say it's magma. It's like a
Okay.
signature.
Well, but again, that is truly circular logic. We know it's magma because we measured it as magma.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
But
so
we haven't been there. We don't have any probes, that have gone this deep.
that's correct. But I have a couple slides in the presentation about how close we've gotten to that.
Okay. Cool.
If we pull that up and get
Yeah.
started, I
Ready for
can
that?
just through that.
And if you want to know all about it, just read The Voyage to the Center of the Earth from Jules Verne. You'll see it's all there.
Well, not all about it, but he got some of the high points. Another novel along the same line that got some of the other high points is called Edidorfa, which is Aphrodite spelled
Yeah.
backwards. But it has several passages that ring so true it's scary using
And
this logic.
how would he get that information so long ago, right?
That is a great question. Um, and there was a whole mythos grew up around that as well. We don't have time for that one tonight. But um, one of the things that I found very interesting in this overall study was some of the information that was presented in the novel Edidorfa is identical to the oral tradition of the I'll get this name wrong. Mosquito, I think, Indians of Ecuador, who have native lore about their taking care of the entrance to the Hollow Earth as a tribal duty. And when they got halfway to the Hollow, they had to turn around and climb the other way, which would make perfect sense. But anyway,
Rick, let me just say this in
so,
relation to what is on the chat. He's saying that, who is saying this is Catman Cat Plan, that the biggest cave we know is Sundong Cave, that is 5 miles long. Is that what it is? Yes.
5 miles wide, has its own
Wide.
ecosystem. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I'm not sure if it is bigger than the Mammoth's Cave, because no one knows where it
Mammoth Cave
ends.
is 425 miles of navigable passages,
Yeah. So, I'm not sure if
but
it
it
is
doesn't
bigger.
have trees growing in it. It has other things growing in it, but not trees.
Yeah, I'm surprised here, even in Alabama. You go visit caves, and we've got one, of course. Imagine this name coming up again, DeSoto Caverns, and you go there, and even then you learn, oh yeah, it runs about 13 miles that way, kind of straight actually, and it comes out. I forget the name of the mountain, nearby where it comes out. But yeah, the further north you go, just here in Alabama, there's caves that supposedly they haven't sorted out the endings of yet.
Right. Russell Caves is one of those, but they know that it drains like 1,400 square miles. And if you're there when it has rained recently, you can't talk over the roar, and it just goes into the ground.
Yeah, there's underwater lakes here. I mean, literally not just water table stuff, like in clay, but underground lakes here that are, I mean, damn near the size of half the state.
Yep.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So this presentation, I can't see on this screen because it's tiny for me. But
Okay, so I've got The Physics of Hollow Earth Theory by Rick Osmon, Burlington Vortex Conference, October 10th.
oh yeah, 2010. Yeah.
Okay, and let me move my windows
Yeah.
around.
So on this, yeah, there are several opposing theories, but at the time there were two main theories. One was the accretion model, and the other one is the hollow Earth.
Right. So I see here an image, noting Agartha, which is an old, I forget, are we talking Indian or Vedic terminology?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Ruby?
Generally, yeah, they
right, for this
Vedic and
hollow
Tibetan.
earth, or and we maybe even hollow isn't quite the right word, but just large amounts of voids and livable spaces versus what we've been told.
Right.
So you can't read
So,
here, but can you just let me know how you want to do this? I'm here to assist, Rick. I've
well,
got
on this one, I was
fact.
talking.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there have been a lot of publications about Hollow Earth going back a couple hundred years since there's been printing presses. But the oldest writing on the planet, Gilgamesh, he talks about going to the underworld too. So it's one of the oldest
Right.
legacy stories for mankind.
Thoth says supposedly below the pyramids, right? He descended once every, I forget, 10,000 or 1,000 years and would stay down there for whatever the lesser of that was, 100 years or 1,000 years, in order to regenerate himself and then come back up. And that's another, not to get lost here, but we're talking about how we know what's inside the earth. And it's funny, we're taught with such absolute certainty what the middle of the earth where we've never been is. And when you look at the Filippo Bondi and whoever the other guy is that was doing the studies underneath the pyramids, right, where they're using the imaging from the satellites, and they're finding these structures that go down a long way down, right? And science is arguing over whether or not that technology is actually showing that. But I don't see anybody arguing the fact that we know it's magma and we know the layers of the earth. It's just an interesting, it's odd
But
how we choose what we know and what we don't know when we're using the same
okay,
science for each.
we're staying on this sidebar for just a moment.
Sure.
Ground penetrating radar, as we use it, surface stuff, you're only going to go down 35 feet. That's the practical limit. And if there's any water, you're not going to go that far. So the sand, yeah, okay, it's a good base, but I am not convinced that that particular radar set can have that much penetration.
I did a
Not saying it
fairly
didn't.
yeah, I did a fairly thorough study of their technology and what it's capable of from other sources that use the same technology. They just don't use the AI to create the fantasy that they do. And it's impossible. It's impossible for it to reach the depths that they are speaking of. And they committed a terrible mistake because they say in their presentation, luckily enough, I understand Italian and I watched it in the original, and he's talking about a Tugnesian block that is impenetrable to the sound waves. And I decided to go in to look into that. And the fact is, it's a complete lie. So Tugnesium, it will allow the waves to pass. You even know how speed the waves will pass through Tugnesium, and it has none of the veracity. So they are completely lying in respect to that. When they say they got to that deep and that block of Tugnesium is there that doesn't allow the waves to go through, it's a lie. So that's a bad premise to the whole thing. But the fact is, their technology
Right.
does not allow to go to that depth, especially as Rick referenced when there's water. And we know that Makaba area, that is that block of stone where the Giza Plateau is the Makaba, is called the Makaba. It's filled with water.
It's an
underneath.
aquifer.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
salt water.
it's a
Right.
true aquifer.
So, going with
So,
what you're
having
saying,
said
then,
that,
boss man, if they can't tell us what is below the pyramids with this technology, how can they tell us what the middle of the earth is?
that's exactly the point I was making. Yeah, they can't. They have the data that they've recorded of seismic activity, some of it induced by mankind, and how they measure it, and then they try to deduce how it reflects off what and where and when and how much, and we're going to get into a little bit more of that here in a little bit. But the idea of this slide is that this idea of a hollow earth has been in literature for as long as there's been literature. So let's move on to the next one.
That's my job.
if we can.
Okay.
So there's a bibliography of stuff that's available for the Hollow Earth,
Okay.
and it's a fairly extensive list. And now we're going to talk about gravity because you can't have one without the other.
They agree on the physics of gravity. All right. That's an ad.
Right.
Which side of the intelligence spectrum are you? Okay, here we go. There must be a drawing power in matter, and the sum of the drawing power, that's where we are, if you can see.
Yeah. So matter is what makes gravity, right? That's a concept we use. The larger the body of matter, the more the mass,
Right.
the heavier the gravity, the more intense the vector or the acceleration due to gravity is.
Okay, so we're saying that gravity is
So
related to mass of matter, right? I mean, it can even bend
correct.
space-time as
If you
we
don't have
understand
mass,
it.
you don't have gravity.
And it's
Okay.
intimately
Two
related to
bodies,
density, right?
correct. Right. The more dense the matter, the more gravitational pull it has, especially when you go per unit length or radius, because uh, God, what is the math? Inverse inverse of the square of the distance is what affects gravity, basically. How much gravity affects it each other. But the more mass there is, the closer you can get to it before, I should say, the more density there is of the mass, the closer to the center you can get before it completely draws you in. This is the actual math that shows two bodies.
And you were saying that the apple attracts the earth and the earth attracts the apple. The difference is the earth is much
Right.
bigger, so
But
it's
the
the
earth
apple that
weighing
goes.
more attracts the apple more than the apple attracts the earth.
Okay,
So
this one's on to
this
Einstein's.
is right. So this is where Einstein got in on the act of gravity and how it reacts with matter at a level way beyond what Newton could even access. Although Newton looked at atomic theory a lot, he just never got the math right. So the accepted case is, of course, a solid core in the Earth, spinning solid core that's independent of the spin of the outer parts of the Earth. And this is, according to them, what creates our magnetic field and a whole bunch of other stuff. But let's move
Okay,
on.
and this is based on, why is this accepted? Here we go. Assumptions. Magnetic field generated by iron core. Seismic waves behaviors result from liquid outer core. Earth's gravity center matches geometric center. Density increases with depth and hottest at center. Okay, how do those five things arrive me to the accepted case being a solid counter rotational core?
Not counter rotational, different rotation rate,
Okay, got it.
but enough to cause a magnetic field difference.
There's
And
a
that's
difference
all
in
they're
the
basing
speed.
it on.
Yeah,
Got it.
Yes, that's their theory.
which I think would cause
And
enormous
all
imbalance in the earth. But
right, but all of those assumptions are based on that part. That magnetic field must come from some moving part.
Got it.
Well, how about the Earth is the moving part, and more specifically, the copper that's in the outer crust is the actual moving part, moving in the magnet or the electrical field of the sun, which makes what? A magnetic field.
Right.
exactly.
But but I'm
But
jumping ahead here a
yeah,
little bit.
I was going to say something I won't because I would jump further still from our conversation from yesterday. So let's slowly go there.
Okay. So we're walking through generated by an iron core magnetic field generate. Okay, electric universe alternative, Earth's rotation in orbit.
Right.
You want to go with that?
Yes. And that is a theory that has been around for a good long while, but it's not an accepted theory. There's a lot of good evidence. There's a lot of great research. Of course, it's all theoretical that we haven't observed an event yet, but we think some of the scars in the crust of the Earth are a result of interplanetary lightning strikes, if you want to go that far. Um,
We
Electric
actually,
Universe.
that's a great time to plug our Mars Disclosure Project, February 5th. We're doing with Dave's Multiverse, Brian Corey Dobbs and John Ward, who have educated us on several features on Mars that look much like not only the ones that look like plasma, right? Plasma generated marks particularly, but in general, things that look like large electrical discharges would be the way to say it. And of course, one can then also find such images on Earth. No matter what you may think caused them, they certainly appear that way.
I just find funny that they have lots of evidence to show that, but they don't accept Velikovsky's. Because it is Velikovsky that shows how those planets got close to one another and how they passed and how those
right.
electrical charges.
Or in the case of Mars, actually touched.
Yes.
Okay, so,
So,
I'll carry us
yeah.
on. Oh, look, we got to Mars.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Imagine that.
I was
So-
not looking ahead, you guys. That's how you know we're on to
Yep,
something.
surprise.
All right, keep rolling, dude. Keep rolling.
No. We're going to stop right here for a minute. We're going to talk
Okay.
about the magnetic field. If there were an iron core in the Earth generating a magnetic field, then why isn't Mars' magnetic field something beyond barely detectable?
Okay.
You know what is not present on Mars in any of our scans? Copper.
Okay. Water.
No, copper.
I know. I said water. I was just adding to the list. I mean, if we're trying
No,
to think.
There-
Well,
there's-
actually,
There is lots of
yeah,
water.
we found water.
Okay, but not as much as I see on the Earth. My point is, I'm trying to list anything that could be. I see where you're going, and for our audience, where we're going, it seems, is the Earth's magnetic. What's our words? Give us our words.
Magnetic field.
Magnetic field, right, is much larger than Mars's. Is this correct?
Mars is negligible. It's as if it doesn't have
Okay.
any.
It is smaller though.
Right. But it is so rich in iron, they call it the red planet.
Okay. So if that were doing it, it should probably have an iron core and should probably have a strong field.
Right. It should have a detectable magnetic field, but it does not.
Unless
So
it's,
that
what
is
if it's the spinning or the something? If that has stopped, does that make a dead planet? I've heard that, right? So if we're going with the spinning core theory, isn't there something saying if it stops, then the planet loses its field and it dies?
well, maybe, but would that be piling a few more assumptions on the already kind of bad assumptions?
Yeah.
I'm playing the term they use is devil's advocate. It's a terrible term.
Yeah.
But I'm playing along with if we
What-
walk it, I can walk through
Yes,
many
and thank you.
narratives, right? And if we walk with the traditional
Right.
narrative, let's just see where it leads
What-
us. It usually all ends up back to
Their
what we're saying
definition,
anyway.
their definition, Jason, for a dead planet is a planet without volcanic activity, which means that the magma and the inner core and so on is stopped working. It doesn't generate
Right.
enough heat to keep it enough fluid to cause that, and because of that, it
Okay.
has no. When you don't have volcanic activity, then you don't have a rotating core or whatever generating heat, and
Right.
Rick is going to that point soon enough.
None of this explains no atmosphere
well-
either, though. Oddly enough, just saying.
Actually, there is almost an atmosphere, but most of it, it has a much higher percentage of their atmosphere that is carbon dioxide. But that goes back to its active volcanic vents. It has volcanic activity, but it only comes out as carbon dioxide.
OMG,
In
JC.
fact,
Hi.
in the late 70s, there was a physicist who sued the United States Army to get back his laser patent, and the Army tried to make the case that he couldn't patent a natural process. And nobody could figure out what the hell they were talking about. They said, oh, well, on Mars, there's so much CO2 in the atmosphere that it makes a natural laser.
Laser?
And nobody has ever tried to explain that statement. Which, okay, that's digressing a lot, but anyway.
Okay.
So there is volcanic activity on Mars of sorts. So it's not a completely dead planet. They're now finding pretty solid evidence that there was at least bacterial type life on Mars, a very long time ago, billions of years.
Well,
Yeah,
as Brian Corey Dobbs, right, Ricardo?
Yeah, and
taught us.
I just received an email from the latest discovery that he's always looking for. They now have found chlorophyll on Mars.
Chlorophyll, yeah, chlorophyll, and on Mars, and I guess that's the chemical. The way he described it to us, he said, "Okay, guys, whenever you hear a news report of we have found X Earth-like planet in X galaxy that could shows signs of life, right? Okay." He said that chemical,
it's
whether it
either
was chlorophyll
chlorophyll or
or
methane.
right? He said, "Okay, we found both of those on Mars in like '76, but we don't hear that.
Suspected it before then.
Right. We don't hear that for some reason. So we have found what the bar the narrative makers use, okay? The science guys, we passed their bar for saying we found evidence of life on Mars, right? Because that is their bar. They just didn't want everybody to know that out loud. Now, these other guys, again, plugging John and Brian, they've been showing us the pictures that NASA releases en masse and just dumps out there. And these guys just take their time and they study them, and they're showing signs of ruins, of stuff that looks just like what LiDAR shows me in the jungles of South America. Just a lot of oddities on that planet.
Statuary.
Yeah, and I just show you what looks like forests, lakes. I've shown you that.
Yeah. Back when Pathfinder first arrived, they were beaming everything back live. I read a few of those, and there was truly statuary and memorial type engravings and stuff, and then they all got scrubbed.
Yeah, it's weird, Ricardo.
Anyway.
We look at some images where they do that. They'll show you an image and you can see something. Doesn't matter what it is, a door, a building. They look like there's some that looks like rebar. It's just strange stuff. But then you can see the image later, and it looks as though some sort of weather phenomenon came through and altered it. It's weird. Man.
Yeah,
Weird planet, dude.
Scrubbed it.
Well,
but my favorite is still the glass tubes. But anyway, the Hollow Earth theory, as it relates to Mars, has another extension, and that is the moon of Phobos, because there are or were active sensors on that moon, and they could listen for impacts. And when they did, they found out that it was hollow, which, of course, got the whole UFO community in an uproar for a little while, but almost nobody even knows that now.
Well, our own moon, right? Now, I'm not going to use the word hollow, but I will say they did seismic
rings
tests.
like a bell.
Yeah, exactly. The reverberations do the same invisible waves that we use to determine our score. They tell us that the moon is not very dense at all, and probably most of the interior is kind of wide open. It's very weird. The science it's the same science, but we don't hear about it because then you got a lot of questions about the moon all of a sudden, and they don't like questions.
Well, but that's going to bring up a couple more questions with the Hollow Earth. Let's go on to the next slide.
Yep, continuing on.
Because if it's hollow, and we measure the mass of each of those bodies, the moon and Earth. And when we send long distance probes out into the solar system, we have to use the gravity of the Earth Moon system, not just of the Earth, to predict where they're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
In either case, we have, by calculation, a pretty good idea of what each of the bodies weighs, the mass of the moon and the mass of the Earth.
I'm with you.
And if there are hollows within that, that means the density is different than what we thought it was. Yeah, this is how we got to what is inside the Earth. This explains the process of analyzing the waves,
Mm-hmm.
or in this case, analyzing the waves to get the answer you want.
Right. Got it. So we'll run through the math.
And then,
I think you
then
should be
there's
more
a little bit of
explicit.
magic.
That's not a slide, Jason.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
But
Okay, these waves are.
go back up to the blackboard. The blackboard is a cartoon that is part of this.
Oh, it is
a slide.
Oh, I'm
Ricardo.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Stay over there or get in the recording studio the producing studio with me here. Yeah, I was pretty sure. Yeah, go ahead, man. Go, Rick.
So basically, this cartoon says in the middle, at the left hand, there's a whole bunch of math. In the middle, it says, then a miracle occurs.
Right.
Then there's the answer they want. And that is my interpretation of what they were showing in that curve graph,
Got it.
that they were wishing for an answer. So if you move on to the next one, I'll explain what I mean there.
Okay.
The waves are
Divergence less. Right. They don't spread out when they reflect off something. This is not natural. This is not true.
Yeah, because they're doing a curve from one point to the other of the crust instead of going down and back again, right?
Well, yeah, that's only one of the fallacies, but yeah.
Can you
The
read
S
this?
waves cannot exist in any of the liquid parts that they say exist.
Oh, yes.
Therefore, their entire study is a fallacy.
And do we have any idea what they gain besides we know, to say we know by falsifying this information?
That's the only thing. I mean,
Detailed and this
they
is
don't
here.
want to be.
Detailed and reliable Earth structure data deeper than about 100 meters requires exploration, i.e., core drilling, etc.
Right. Because 100 meters, call it 400 feet, that takes in most of the mining operations on the planet. You get into South Africa, there's a 10-mile deep, give or take, gold mine, but you can't stay down there for more than 20 minutes or you cook because it's that hot. Now, that
Really?
should have told them a whole bunch of things right there. But let's go on to the next slide.
Yeah, I would. That does tell us a few things, doesn't it?
We have that drill in Russia that went kilometers and kilometers into
Right.
the earth.
There's
How
a
deep
slide
is
for that coming up.
Oh, okay.
Polar borehole.
S waves do not exist at all in the liquid portion of the core.
Why not in a liquid iron outer core? Earth's
Right.
gravity center matches geometric center.
Right. That's the theory. So let's move on to the next slide.
Right?
Yeah, that one. But it can't be true. And I'll tell you why. What is the acceleration due to gravity at the exact center of the globe?
Is that here on
Zero?
this graph? I don't.
It is zero. That is exactly correct. It is zero.
At the exact.
That means that the mass,
center.
right, all of the mass of the Earth is outside the center of the globe, pulling away from the center as much as it's pulling in from the surface.
Okay, if I don't have a perfect sphere, am I gonna? Do I get an exact center?
Yeah, you get a practical center if you don't have an exact sphere.
Okay, so there is, no matter how the mass is dispersed in a largely spherical object, there will be somewhere within it where there's zero gravity, called practical center.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Right, at the
I'm with you.
practical center, which will be near the exact geographical center.
Okay, I'm with you.
Now, having said that, that means that the whole density picture that we've been using is wrong. And here's why.
Okay.
Sure. And I think you should go back to the previous one, because one of the things that I learned from Rick yesterday is that if you look at the graph, you'll see where the gravity is stronger. Can you see it?
Yeah,
It's not at the surface, it's in the middle between the center and the surface, because that's where you have
right.
more mass around you.
Okay.
It'd also be where the densest material is.
Yes, but through their conclusions, it should be the center of the Earth and not the middle.
Right. So at the half radius point, halfway between the center and the surface, would be where the densest material is and where everything is pulled towards.
Okay. Okay, deepest point that seismic waves behave normally.
Right.
Earth's gravity center
So here's
matches geometric center.
right. And we already talked about that quite a bit.
Okay. Here I'm looking at Earth's
But
gravity
here's the
field
gravity map.
anomalies.
Yeah.
Okay, what's this showing me?
Okay. So Southeast Asia, between Southeast Asia and Australia, that big red thing there,
Yep.
that probably we would have called Lemuria if it would have been around at that time.
Correct, right. Or the
It's
Sunda, is it the Sunda
gravity
Shelf, Chad, I
anomaly.
think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Greenland to the northeast of North America, that big red spot. Those are gravity anomalies. The one in Greenland might try to explain that with the entire ice shelf on top of it, but that doesn't work for the other one. And oh, by the way, they're almost exactly opposite on the globe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so this indicates
What it's actually telling us, higher gravitational, probably related to higher density, yes, but definitely higher gravitational force. And they measured
Okay.
this with
But
a
by their models,
a very
these
interesting
shouldn't
spacecraft.
be there. That's for certain, right? I mean, this is weird.
Right.
Yeah.
All it really shows is it is not uniform across the entire surface of the Earth.
Okay, right. Thank you.
And I did a kind of a very short discussion of the spacecraft that they used, the Grace spacecraft. But
Okay.
of course, this is old stuff now. This is a 15-year-old
Sure.
treatment.
All right. All such orbital gravity studies flawed because all fail to account for magnetic flux variations, gigascale spatial and temporal spacetime, other coincident but unincorporated data. Density
Now, here we get to the
increases
Kola.
with depth.
Yeah, this is the Kola super borehole. It's 14 kilometers, I think, 12,000 kilometers. I'm sorry, 12,000
Twelve,
meters, 12
yep,
kilometers deep,
12,262 meters, 40,230 feet.
deepest hole ever bored. But they hit some stuff uh, at that depth that they couldn't penetrate with a boring rig that was designed for twice that depth. Meaning, two things. First of all, it was a lot hotter than they expected. And secondly, it was a lot harder than they expected. Meaning, the density was a lot higher than the model predicted.
Okay.
Also, they were getting raw hydrogen coming out of the borehole, pure hydrogen that should not exist in the depths of the earth, not 4 billion years after accretion. So there are a whole bunch of things wrong with the model, but instead of shaking the model against this data, they just say, "Oh, that's weird," and they move on with the model they use.
We bored at the wrong place. It's the only place that would give us wrong data. You
And yet,
managed to do that.
Am I jumping ahead, or am I taking us down a rabbit hole if I ask where in the universe would I ordinarily obtain pure hydrogen or find it naturally emitting itself?
ah, great question. But let's move on, and I'll get to the answer.
Okay, so I'm jumping ahead. All right, let's keep going. All right, so let's just note for everybody, we do have the picture of that borehole there. That's the deepest we've managed to get.
Yeah.
And it was hotter and more dense than they were anticipating. And so now we're getting to what that tells us.
So Steve is saying that during the drilling process, the expected basaltic layers at 7 kilometers deep or 4.3 miles down were never found, nor were the basaltic layers at any depth.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, there were a whole bunch of unexpected things. That's what I said. Even though nothing matched their model, they didn't go back and try to justify the model
Yeah. So a fair question
against
here.
new data.
So
What?
considering the depths that they went to, they would suppose to find no resistance at all, because that's already in the mantle. So it should be just viscous, very hot material that they could drill like butter, right?
Well, you'd think, but the density what didn't allow it. That's what I'm saying. They got surprised on every front.
Could that be justified
And of course
by...
now it's
Go on.
legendary, and the internet will tell you that if you're standing in that shack, you'll hear screams from the center of the earth.
Yes. It's hell. They found hell. That's why they
So,
stopped
right.
drilling.
That's why they stopped.
Yeah, it's the hell
Okay,
mouth
but
itself.
as we see here, they found the drill bits would no longer be working for them. Okay, cola surprises. If
They
we've covered this,
disintegrate.
right?
Yeah.
Hydrogen volume has no
Yes.
explanation in their current theory. No subsequent study to attempt correlation of empirical to theoretical. Real good science there, boys and girls. Earth continuously produces and emits roughly 4 terawatts more thermal energy than it receives from the sun. That's a lot of zeros.
That's a bunch of zeros.
What's the explanation for that, Rick?
Seismic geology theory
Well,
states this heat is left over from planetary formation accretion 4.2 billion years ago. This theory indicates that in its lifetime, Earth has emitted a lot of terawatts of power. Some mechanism inside
Yeah,
the Earth
there you go.
generates new thermal energy at a rate of 4,000 billion watts continuously. All right, break that down for us.
Okay, it goes along with the new hydrogen, but let's move on to the next slide.
Okay, questions indeed.
That big question mark on this one. So this is Sir Edmund Halley.
Mm-hmm.
And Sir Edmund Halley was Isaac Newton's sponsor at Oxford.
Who
Anyway,
was he? I
Edmund
didn't know
Halley
that.
chased the mag.
We know what that meant.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and Halley was famous, of course, for the comet being named after him. But what he was actually the most practical thing he did was he studied the magnetic pole of the Earth, and he looked for the location of the North Pole. He sailed all over the North Atlantic, looking, trying to gauge where the North Pole would be from different coordinates.
What methods
And
did
he
he
finally
use?
realized magnetic compass.
So for those at
And of
home,
course,
one problem. Go ahead. Go ahead, Rick.
but he also bounced it off a true geographical north, polar north. So he was looking for the declination that we use for charts. In his case, he was trying to satisfy the British royalties' need to dominate the seas, and that included how to do longitude effectively. Anyway, he found out that the North Magnetic Pole moves. He knew that 400 years ago, almost 400 years ago.
In
But he
1692,
also
Halley
made
put
up a
forth the
model.
idea of a hollow Earth.
Yes, he did, and he drew illustrations of it, and there were other mathematicians and philosophers of the age who also entertained the idea. So, and we're talking famous ones: Euler, of course, Halley. Newton probably played with the idea, but he never published anything. And then you got
He's
into further later history. You got Donnelly and a few others, but Ignatius Donnelly wasn't just Atlantis. He also did some Hollow Earth stuff.
Halley's was the last serious scientific attempt at describing a hollow Earth until Leonhard Euler.
Euler, we pronounce it Euler. Yeah.
Euler, okay, thank you. Leonhard Euler. In the 18th century, a Swiss mathematician, Leonhard Euler, took the multiple spheres theory and replaced it with a single hollow sphere that contained a sun 600 miles wide. He said the sun maintained heat and light for an advanced civilization that he said lived there. So where traditional theory says molten core, that's kind of what they're saying. They're using the word sun now for, right?
Well, that's what Euler used, and so did several other treatments that I'll call fictional. But Euler and Halley and a few other guys that were truly the scientists of their time, the best known scientists of their time, entertained this idea and examined it pretty thoroughly and did not completely discount it. So, but let's move on because there's still a lot more to this story.
That is why we look at these things, because no matter what, with the investigation, with following questions, as you started us with, some
Right.
basic questions about the science, you're going to pick something up. So that's why we like to go down these
Well, and
holes.
I'm going
Right.
to pick a whole bunch of things apart too.
Okay.
But these
Euler's
illustrations
model.
are right. Euler's model and Halley's model, kind of. Concentric spheres. It's a pretty simple idea, I guess. But
Boy, that one on that right looks real familiar. I think it's in my YouTube profile picture,
yeah.
but in a rock.
yeah.
Okay.
And then there's the Agartha version. Yeah.
Yep.
So Rick, at this time they were using the spheres not only to explain the cosmos, but also to explain the inner Earth, the celestial
Correct.
spheres. Yeah.
That was their interpretation. That was Halley's interpretation. And Euler's interpretation involved a pretty thin crust with a fairly large sun at the middle. But we're going to keep going.
Okay, so we're at excess thermal energy.
Right. So we've covered that a little bit already. So
okay,
but that inner sun would
Marlowe
be,
et al. Expanding Earth model, or sorry, Maxlow.
yes, Maxlow. Yeah, Maxlow is an Australian geologist, and he put forth this theory that was it was never truly debunked. It was more ignored and attacked. that the Earth is expanding, and he makes a pretty good case of how the continental coastlines all fit together. You know that, right? That you can
Yes.
cuddle South
Yes.
America right into the Horn of Africa,
Pangea,
or not the
Pangea,
Horn, but
yeah, Pangea, and then it
yeah,
spread.
that's the idea. But all the continents will fit together. It's not like they were all in one bunch. They all will fit together if the Earth was half its current radius. But anyway,
Got
move
it.
on to the next slide, please.
Got it.
Rick, they are asking in the chat, Steve.
We can get. Yeah, I got that. Does that? Well, we'll let Rick pick. Rick, you've got a question. You can either go now or we can keep moving.
Sure, go
Explain
now.
the missing mantle problem, also known as the Great Dunite shortage. Are you familiar with any of those words?
I'm aware of them, but I haven't really. I'm not the geologist guy here.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. We don't really have an answer, but thank you for the question, my friend. Okay, so we're moving on from Maxlow with his
I'll bounce that
hypothesized
off of
spreading
somebody
apart of. Go ahead, Rick.
of the crust. Yeah. So, and Maxlow's theory is an outgrowth of the accretion model. He's saying basically that the centrifugal force or centripetal force of the Earth spinning will actually make it spin all that mass away from the center, which, if you, yeah, maybe, okay.
Yeah, sure. Spinning and out it goes. Right. We know that basic.
Can't hear you.
Well, we've all ridden a fair ride. We understand that things spin, get slung out. Sure.
Right.
Simple. Right.
Sure. So Maxlow made a good case and made all these presentations and was thoroughly ignored. But the science is actually pretty sound. Let's go on to the next one.
But
Okay.
wouldn't that contradict gravity itself?
No, counteracts gravity itself, but it doesn't contradict it.
Okay.
So the highest acceleration due to gravity within a planet is away from the center. We've gone over this a little bit. We're just reinforcing the idea.
Got it.
And therefore, there should be a void. No matter what its size, there should be a little bit of a void there.
Okay. Just laying
So a
out the
second
baseline
zero-
that it can't be what the
Yeah,
traditional narrative is going
let's
to
go
tell
back
us.
up one paragraph
Of course.
right there.
A
This-
second.
The second zero gravity depth, which is at the sweet spot, halfway between the surface and the center, that half radius is where the vector reverses itself.
Got it.
Okay. So this is more about how the Mars, Moon, and Phobos got measured, etc. But we talked
Okay.
about that already.
Sure.
We did.
So the exact depth of the sweet spot is exact half of the radius. Give or take.
That's going to
But
be
we
line
can't
B,
bore that.
somewhere in that range.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Where the gravity is stronger.
Well, no, actually, it would be another zero spot.
Because we're at you're
There are
talking
two-
practical center again, yeah.
Right. Well, you're talking two spheres. It's just that the innermost sphere is almost a point. It is a point, actually. And then the outer zero gravity sphere is at half the radius.
Got it.
And Edidorfa and McCuxey, that's what it is, not mosquito, McCuxey.
McCuxey, right?
They describe that sweet spot in great detail. McCuxey from their oral traditions, and Edidorfa from somebody who invented the story.
Where are this tribe from?
Ecuador,
Ecuador.
Brazilian border, really. They're
funny that
almost extinct. They're being hunted to extinction because of their land.
Okay, so here in the Edadorf,
And that,
we're having it described basically a low gravity fall. It would seem a
yes,
14-foot fall, in which he said he felt light as a cork. Okay, and then the McCuxies, at a point which was beyond the halfway point, they had to hold on to the walls and pull themselves along carefully, because if not, they would float weightlessly.
that's interesting for the tribe to say.
It is, yeah. Okay.
so, yeah.
This one?
Okay, so let's go on to the next section, and we'll get to an explanation of. Yeah. So the lore, the internet lore, says that there should be an 800-mile wide hole at the top of the world for Admiral Byrd to fly his plane into. But next slide,
the
please.
Admiral Byrd stuff. Yeah, okay.
There's no hole. There's that hole, but it's not really a hole into the earth. It is what they call an abysmal plane. Abysmal, yes, if you're at the bottom of it. Yes.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah, it's a big hole in
It
the
gets
ocean.
deep up there,
But
huh?
if you look, 13,000 feet, give or take. But if you look really close, you'll see that there are drainage waterways from the crust, top part of the crust, the surface, the real surface, all the way down to the hole at the middle.
Zoom in and you'll
See
see it.
that?
I'm about as zoomed in as I can get, Ricardo.
Okay.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, I think, let me, before I commit to that.
Oh, be sure and put the link up so
Yeah.
viewers can go look for themselves.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah,
All righty.
Because
It's
it's
on
an important point.
thehollowearthinsider.com.
I'm getting there. Just
Yeah.
a second.
And I'll bring in another tiny bit of data that is not actually in the presentation, but that ridge that separates those two abyssal plains, it's a description of the hill at the top of the world in the Mahabharata. And at the time, 25,000 years ago, when they say the Mahabharata was actually written, it would have been out of the water.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the material that I have on my end.
I'm
Okay.
doing my best
Now.
here to capture this image.
I can't hear a thing you're saying.
Ricardo's trying to capture an image for us,
Okay.
and that was the end of the material I had as
Okay.
far as presenting visuals.
All right. So now I'm going to, I'll narrate and maybe you can catch up on visual. There is a guy, or there was a guy, he's passed away now. His name was Neil Adams, and you would know him as the longest running artist drawing Batman ever, and a few other characters. But he had his own studio in New York, and he was up there. He didn't compete against, but he did work for DC, but he also did work for Marvel. He did work for anybody who wanted good art. But he noticed that all
Ricardo,
these
what are you
continents fit
doing?
together. Real,
Let go.
he's going to blow that up, maybe.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. I thought we were moving on, and you asked me to follow your narration, so I had Neil Adams ready to go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you got Neil Adams had what he called the growing Earth theory. And he called it his science project. But he would take images of the surface of the Earth, started with the Earth and expanded later. And he would, because he had, all these artists, digital creator types, doing CGI before CGI was a thing, he cut out all the maps and he put all the coastlines together with the curvature of his new planet at half what the Earth is now. That is, the radius was half what it is now. And all of the planet, continents and islands and land fit together perfectly. Not
So I think
pretty
I've got
well,
a video
perfectly.
on his growing Earth theory if we want to watch a second.
Right. That's where I was hoping you'd go.
Sure. Okay.
And while it's running, I'll go pee.
Okay, sounds
Sure.
great.
So I'll take the opportunity to answer Steve here. Yes, there is, not of the whole, but there is footage. I have a documentary somewhere in my database speaking about it, or 2 or 3, and there is footage of what they supposedly saw, but it was then, when the internet came, someone decided to make a huge hole onto that and falsify the information. There is no hole there.
Okay, everybody. So I've got Ricardo. While he's gone, I've got us a little 2-minute video on this expanding Earth theory, which I'm interested in because we're all familiar with Pangea. We're all familiar. Look at the globe here.
Mm-hmm.
We know these continents butt up against each other. There's even evidence of, when testing the land mass itself and the rocks on North America versus, Europe and South America.
The same minerals. Yeah.
You're finding, right. So I'm curious just to see where this goes. Listen, since we're at the point we're at, I'm going to have to run pee as well. And then let's transition nicely into...
put it play.
Yeah, I'm going to let this play, and we'll transition to this watch-along.
Grew to get here the way it is now. Here is our world, our planet Earth, floating in space. We will be going backward in time, imperfectly, but done in a very disciplined manner. Please notice there is no subduction, no rotation of tectonic plates, no twisting, no form fitting, no altering shapes or sizes. It would be impossible for these continental plates to fit together perfectly without this being true, and yet the upper tectonic plates fit together perfectly on a much smaller planet. Yes, there's been some erosion, landslides, blah, blah, but overall, this activity is insignificant. There is a kind of conspiracy of silence among certain scientists. They know, but are not telling you, that the upper tectonic plates of Earth also join in the Pacific. Not partially. They join totally. You are asked to believe that the continents swim or drift about willy-nilly, bumping and crashing as if they were on a greased skillet. This is not true. The simple truth is apparently too upsetting to too many apple carts. We're now going forward in time to show how the actual growth of the Earth took place. Imperfect as the details, but the overall is nailed. Antarctica, as you see, has become subtropical. Africa, on a smaller globe, moved way downward under the globe. In fact, for hundreds of millions of years, the bottom of Africa was the South Pole. South America's tail goes under and wraps around the bottom of Africa. Then, incredibly, it joins coast with Antarctica. 65 million years ago and more, these continents were joined, and marsupials like the duck-billed platypus roamed from Australia, Antarctica, and across southern South America and up into Africa. The platypus. Dinosaurs roamed all over this world on the upper tectonic plate because there were no oceans, just shallow seas. Here today, Antarctica is frozen over, and Australia and its surrounding islands are the remaining home of marsupials. Do you see how broadly the Pacific is opening compared to the Atlantic? This is exactly why the knee-jerk Pangea theory exists. The Pacific spread is too difficult to easily visualize because it's so big. The Atlantic spread is so obvious that a child would recognize it, but they are the same. Check this map out. The Navy and others took core samples to find the ages of the sea bottom. Lo and behold, no part of the undersea was found to be much older than 70 million years old. Does that shock you? It should. It shocked the scientists. Where do they get ancient fish fossils from? From the land, like in Mississippi and Utah and France and China. Most of the undersea wasn't there 70 or 80 million years ago. The measurements of the core samples give the age of the sea floor. Newest, 10 million or so, is red. As we go back in time, we go backward in our rainbow: orange, yellow, green, blue. Okay? So we bury the new sea floor back to the fault lines as dictated by color or age. 10 million years back, these are the ages of the seafloor as measured by science, and they're generally true. Earth grew. 20 million. I'm not making this information up. This map comes from the scientific community. 30 million. You can find the same map in many places on the internet. It's common knowledge. 40. The ocean bottom is from 1 year to 180 million years old. 50. 70% of it is no older than 60 million years old. 60. The upper plate, the continents, are as old as 2 billion years old and more. 70. 10 to 20 times as old as the undersea plates. The undersea plate is new and spreading at the rifts. Why does the scientific community desperately cling to and promote the idea that the ocean bottom is sliding under the continents and into a magma which is twice as dense as solid granite? A totally unsupportable and scientifically unsound idea? They have to. Or else they'd have to observe and admit that the Earth is growing. And that, viewers, is a very big deal. That would change everything in science, from the smallest particle to the whole universe. 100 years of scientific theory out the window. That's a lot to give up. It's important to remember that science and the universe should and must be easier to understand as we go back in the universe's evolution. This is an undersea map. As a kind of test for ourselves, we deemed it important to show that not only the upper plate had to fit properly together, but the undersea had to spread in a logical, reasonable pattern that we could see and understand as rational humans. Do you see those lines in the undersea which, beyond information, show direction? The direction of movement apart and away from the rifts. In fact, it's like a movement diagram, isn't it? We're moving now. Let me point out that the newer undersea near the rifts is smoother and more regular than the older land further away from the rifts. Here in the Atlantic, the rift goes right up the middle. Half of the Earth's growth has happened since the extinction of dinosaurs. This means that the Earth is accelerating in its growth. In the last 65 million years, Earth nearly doubled in size. The last redoubling took 600 million years, at least. We're continuing all the indicated undersea directions like following a blueprint. The Earth guides us. And now the land masses will come together perfectly. As we now go forward in time from 185 million years ago, please notice there is no subduction, no raising and lowering of land masses. There can't be. It's hell in the form of magma down there. Local raising and lowering, yes. but not on a massive basis. It can't happen. There's no turning, rotating of land masses. The land masses sit in their individual plates and don't move. The rifts open, that's all. For examination,
Did it freeze on you?
I can't hear you, Jason.
No, just doing due diligence. Are we still good? I had to step away for a moment.
Yeah, we're good.
So
You're good. Keep it
Yeah.
going.
rock and roll.
I'm going to
Yeah.
run a few vignettes
Actually,
of each
I think
area
that-
of Earth
that's
that
probably-
you have a right to be curious.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I think that's got the idea across. Neil did this work 16, 17 years ago, something like that. And it survives and he has not. But I had the privilege of interviewing him for a total of close to 8 hours. So
Wow.
it was, it truly a
So
privilege
you
and
know
an
the
honor.
work. Yeah. Okay.
Do we have that on video? or
Well,
no?
I also I had this show, the Hollow Earth Insider. Dennis and I both interviewed him because that was our topic. But I also interviewed him for a comic book show, interview show that I was doing later on. He was a very, very nice gentleman. Anyway, the growing Earth, as he portrays it there, I can't find any fault with his logic. Now, having said that, he never did really try to come up with a mechanism of how this could be occurring. He only proved to himself and to me that it was occurring. But that got me running like, okay, how does a planet grow? Especially that much in that period of time. 70 million years to double its radius, give or take.
Ricardo reminds me of the growing
Well,
rocks.
Well, yeah. And here's where we get back to where did the hydrogen come from?
That's what I was going to say. I wanted to get back to the hydrogen, and I've got one more place I want us to go, but you go ahead.
Okay,
Here's where I want to go after that. You just plan it since we know we're going hydrogen.
Sure.
I want to talk about
So
go with that first. Go hydrogen.
The growing Earth requires a mechanism to produce new matter at the center of the Earth, or the center of whatever mass is undergoing this process. And here's where I digress just a little bit more. We talked about physics, we talked about Einstein for that much, and we only talked about relativity. But his other big breakthrough was when he worked with Rosen to describe what they called the Einstein-Rosen bridge. We call it a wormhole. However, the popular version of a wormhole is not an Einstein-Rosen bridge. An Einstein-Rosen bridge has a beginning and an end. The beginning is a black hole. Anything that falls into that black hole becomes pure energy. And it comes out the other end at the white hole as pure energy. So nothing can escape falling into a black hole and nothing can enter a white hole, period. And both of these phenomenon, the white hole and the black hole, are based around gravity, gravitational fields. But in the case of the black hole, of course, it's drawing in matter to turn it into energy. And in the case of the white hole, it has a negative effect of what we think of as gravity. Or, in a different dimension, maybe it's negative time. Nobody actually knows for sure. But go to the next physics guy, and his name was Richard Feynman. And he postulated that if you had matter and antimatter annihilating itself, but you ended up with actually two positrons running free in space, then they would become an electron, forming new matter.
Forming new matter in the black hole, essentially, right?
In the white hole, at the other end.
That's what I'm looking for here is some
Because-
stuff on black holes and white holes.
The black hole takes matter and turns it into energy. A white hole turns pure energy into, heat, different forms of energy, as well as minute amounts of matter. And the bigger the mass, wherever you are, like say a sun, it collects more of the energy from the giant black hole at the center of the galaxy. It's a bigger target. And we
Right.
don't have to go into the fact that there is no time. Time doesn't exist for this process. There's no delay of when it falls into the black hole, it instantly appears as energy at the other end.
Russian theoretical
And we can go.
physicist and cosmologist Novikikov put forward the possible existence of white holes in 1964. He argued that these bodies can be predicted as part and extension of a solution to the Einstein field equations called the Schwarzschild metric. A white hole was described as an eternal black hole with no charge and no rotation. A white hole is essentially a time-reversed black hole, or a black hole running backward in time. The event horizon of a black hole is considered a sphere of no return, while the event horizon of a white hole is described as a impenetrable boundary. Other theorists argue that a
Right.
black hole and a white hole represent two sides of the same coin. However, some have argued that holes could not exist because they violate the second law of thermodynamics, which states that disorder or entropy in the universe can neither remain the same or increase, but it can never decrease. White holes would decrease in entropy. Okay, that's what
I don't
found on
see
white
why,
holes.
because the continuous of matter entering
No,
the black hole is constant.
Right. Right. Because it's produced by matter falling into the black hole. And that is something that he could not consider in 1964.
Oh, okay, okay.
So anyway, so the Einstein-Rosen bridge, if you take the whole trail that I went with Feynman, et cetera, you can see where new matter can be created from no matter. It's just standing waves of energy in a form that becomes a standing wave. A coherent form of energy is matter, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So the galaxy is providing the energy for the universe to make new matter all the time, including in the Earth. And the simplest form of matter that could be formed from these constituents is hydrogen. The most complex that we know of, that we can hold on to for a little bit, is probably uranium, plutonium too. But
So according to this, it will be continuous generating in the core, somewhere in the what we call the mantle right
yes,
now.
and here's where it gets really scary. If Neil's timeline is correct, and in 70 million years, we have doubled the radius of our planet through this process or any process, at what point do we overload? At what point do we become ball deck, that 10th exploded planet out there between what is now Mars and Jupiter, because Mars was a moon, now it's a planet.
Yes, it was called Phaeton by the Greeks.
Yeah.
So
And they never saw it, but they knew of it.
yes, somehow they knew of it. But so what are you saying is a planet can grow to a point where it just cannot keep itself in a stable formation. It just disintegrates.
Right. Or there could be another case where something else could interfere with the normal Einstein-Rosen bridge signal and just turn everything into pure energy all at once.
Okay, so if I'm
At
with
the
you so
receiver end.
far, if I'm with you so far, all right. So we've got the drill hole, the Kola borehole in Russia, right? They go down a certain depth, they reach density and heat they don't fucking expect. Okay, they also have pure hydrogen emitted. Sorry, they admitted that it emitted from the borehole, and there's nowhere that should take place. And now you're proposing that in a wormhole, essentially, right? The Einstein-Rosen bridge, that could possibly exist at the practical gravitational center of the Earth.
Correct.
Okay, I'm with you.
And
Good.
okay, so here is where it becomes tricky, and I'm not going to try to do the math because I'm not that good at that level of math. However, I'm pretty sure it can be solved. There will be a point in space at that practical center and a point in time, regardless of whether a white hole is a reverse black hole, where the acceleration due to gravity at that point becomes in the minus category.
Okay.
And that would be when the new matter is born.
Okay. And new matter could be a hydrogen atom.
Well, it could be electrons. We can start with electrons, but then that can form new matter as well.
So basically, what we are saying here is atoms are being created, and atoms form into matter, different forms. One of them detected
Right.
is hydrogen, but there is several other forms that are being born according to pressure, density, temperature, and so on and so forth, because we know that's how
Right.
they simulate.
And all those variables may produce different elements altogether.
Different,
For
exactly.
instance, you know, in the rift, it might be pure copper.
Copper,
Well, the
exactly.
standard,
As
the
one example.
standard, the standard narrative would already have me believe that elements are produced. I mean, we know if heat and nickel and all these other things are bubbling around, right? I already have production and elements taking
Well,
place.
I'll give you a better example. What
Right.
is the half-life of uranium? What is the half-life of U-235?
Don't know.
U2, yeah, about 500,000 years.
Okay.
But if the planet is years old, something is making new uranium less than 500,000 years ago.
Yeah, I've bumped up. I've bumped up into the uranium problem before in several different discussions.
And could
Yeah.
it could
And it's just one example, but it's one that we can actually trace. Strontium's another.
so
Go ahead,
just
Ricardo.
like in a star, we know that the elements are being produced by the reactions within the surface of a star. It's emissions. That's how elements are
Well,
supposedly
they're being
generated.
produced within the star someplace, but I contend that they're being produced at the very center
At the very center, coming to the
initially,
surface. Yes.
right, and being cooked off as plasma and coronal mass of some kind.
Sure. And so the same process would be happening under extreme pressures and heat within somewhere the center of the Earth that supposedly is an empty space.
Right, but that negates the whole part of it being a high pressure area.
Yeah, not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
an
why
empty
I'm
space?
that's why I'm putting the question on.
does it have to be an
Yeah.
empty space? I mean, I know we're trying to get back to the hollow Earth, sort of, but we should get. But this to understand this thing, it doesn't have to be in either. It doesn't matter what the space is in, right? It's not required to be in an empty space. It could be in a dense part. It just has to be the gravitational center of the mass.
What I'm getting here is the material is not being produced at the center, according to Rick's exposition, but is being produced at the point of highest gravity.
No, it's being
Lowest
produced at the point of
gravity,
zero
no.
gravity.
Yeah,
At
you
the zero?
misunderstand.
It's at the zero? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're right. So, and in fact, at that half radius, you'll never get completely zero.
Sure.
You'll be pulled somewhere at any point. It's just equaling out.
Yeah,
At the exact center,
You're being pulled equally in every single direction outward.
correct. Right. So, and it's true to some degree wherever you are in relation to some mass, but at the exact center of, let's go with the Earth, where particularly we believe, or I believe, that this white hole condition exists, where the acceleration due to gravity is not only away from the center, it is strongly away from the center in some moments. Right. So it is negative, essentially. If you think of spherical polarization, it's a different form. It's a different geometry than we're used to, but it would be negative gravity. Or you can call it negative time. It doesn't matter. The math works either way, but it would create new matter, or at least it would create the conditions in which new matter could occur.
Okay, so
Yeah, as a layman so far, I mean, I'm with you. If I picture the sphere, right, and I picture all of this mass, and I mean, I can picture the Earth. I'm on it now. It's a lot of mass. There's an enormous amount of gravity. We're not talking about like what it's like out here on the center, right? There's an enormous amount of gravity acting in all directions, right? Now, somewhere in the perfect center of all of that, no matter how, small you think in your brain, there's a spot you can find, there's a sweet spot where there's not any gravity because you're at the center of this thing, right? Okay.
no,
So
you're
now
being
now
pulled in every direction in inverse
not at the
gravity.
very
Yeah,
center.
It is.
you are being pulled in every direction, but the net is zero. The net
Right.
sum of the gravity is still zero. However, unlike at the half radius, you're not within the mass.
Right.
You're within the void at the geographical center, geometric center.
So this leads me into where I was going to, sort of take us before we talked about the hydrogen. What, Rick, is the hook? What is the motivation? What is the cultural, I don't know, leanings, legends, myths, or what is the general reason people are supposing, looking, or ignoring or suppressing the idea of hollow spaces within the Earth?
Well, that's a great question, and I wish I had truly great answers. Like I said earlier, it's part of the oldest written tradition on the planet. It's part of the oral tradition of half of the tribes of the American West. The Utes talk about the ant people. They talk about coming up from the great cavern inside, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, the Macaxes in Ecuador. You also had other tribes, African tribes, talk about voids, giant caverns in the center.
Yeah, when we speak of traditions, I think there are many. You even remember, Ricardo, from our presentation with Tyrone, where we were looking at just the scripts of, about the Anunnaki, right, in Sumerian. And, in that reading, it seems that even it seems like we've misinterpreted the whole time, that even they were described as coming from under the water, or the sea. Basically from here, so these traditions these traditions of something inside the earth, carry all over, for sure, ancient, legend stories.
Now, why do we suppress it?
Yeah. Both of you forgive me, but I have this.
I don't know these answers, but there's been a lot of
Deal
speculation,
with it.
part of it in fictional presentations, that it is there and our government knows about it, and they've got tunneling machines that can take them right to the void at the center, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't buy any of that shit.
Sure.
Not to the center, because you'd have to go through the densest part of the planet, and you couldn't get there from here.
So I like
Giant
the
caverns is a different.
I like the angle of here's what gets my attention, right? If you're going to talk what people call UFOs, right? If you're going to talk what people call plasma orbs, if you're going to talk what people call unexplained, Ricardo, mute while you're rolling your cigarette, boss. If you're going to talk what people call unexplained aerial phenomena, right? Okay. if you're going to talk advanced technology and craft, if you're going to then look at ancient traditions that are, we talked about Anunnaki coming from the sea, all the myths from around the world about seven sages coming from out of the earth. We've got Congressman Tim Burchett, walking out of today. I mean, today by meaning the past few months, walking out of Congress and down the streets of D.C., saying there are large underground structures, and that's where all these submersible sightings, these USOs they call them, things that can come in the water and out. That's where they are. Okay, so it seems to me we've got validation of all sorts. Now, what I like to then do is go, why call it all alien, right? If I look at all these little things I just kind of threw out there on the dartboard, as it were, on the whiteboard, right? I start to see perhaps that what all this is coming from right here. And where would right here be that we are not readily detecting?
Inside, yeah.
Somewhere on the inside, yes.
Right. So I don't know if you probably didn't go to the main website, thenewhollowearthinsider.com, and you'll find a cartoon graphic of Dennis and a UFO, and because that's how he got to the Hollow Earth theory, was by tracking UFO stuff. And he was a witness himself, by the way. He had a very cool story of his sighting at Fort Bragg.
I've had experiences. I mean, you're not talking to I've had direct experiences daytime and nighttime with aerial phenomena, no doubt. And I mean real material stuff, no hallucinogens, no, very real material, very consciously aware moments. And a couple of the times, really every time, seemingly connected. There was a conscious connection, and I can just leave it as vague as that. But yeah, dude, there's stuff that's here, I think there's a lot of misinformation. I think there's a lot of stuff because, governments, institutions, secret societies, all of this stuff, there's so much disinformation. But I think when you try to look at objectively all of it, where it invariably leads me, if we want to suppose and look for a solid theory of it all, I get led to it all being here and having been here for a long time, it seems.
Well, Dennis called them coplanetarians. He didn't call them aliens. He didn't call them little green men or anything else. He called them coplanetarians, and he did believe that the UFOs existed. Because he'd seen one, big one, by the way, hovering over his quad at Fort Bragg while he was getting ready to invade Cuba for the Bay of Pigs thing. Anyway,
yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, they're time travelers as much as they are otherwise.
Rick,
it was a history lesson for them.
I have a question for you. So let's assume that matter is produced somewhere at the center of each gigantic body, the sun, the planets. Let's assume that. And we also learned today that at that center, matter is being pulled equally in every single direction. Well, imagining that situation is somewhat more or less like the vacuum we find in space, although I believe it will be much denser. In that vacuum of space, we have proven today, by people like Nassim Haramein, that there is enough energy in a cubic centimeter of vacuum to power the entire Earth.
Power the Earth, yeah.
Okay. Now,
yeah,
my question
and
is,
more.
My question is this then: could it be that matter is generated because it's being pulled equally in every direction? Which means when matter is circulating on that area, when it crosses that exact middle point where it's pushed in every single direction, it creates matter itself in that interaction of those forces. Could it be? Has it been tested?
Yeah, I think no, it has not been tested. There are effects that we can verify that are gravity related, where, for instance, we take two very thin plates with known masses, etc., and we put them in very close proximity in a vacuum, and we can measure the force that is generated by their proximity, not by gravity, not by any electromagnetic that we can, spot as radio frequency. Um, but we can measure a gravitic force between two objects. And when I say they're in close proximity, we're talking nanometers apart, billionths of a meter
Sure,
in
sure.
proximity. And we can measure that force. And if we can figure out how to make more massive objects, get that proximity, then we can start measuring a different level of the force. I'm sure of it. Because
That
the
would
more
be like
mass you've
what?
got as
Borium?
your
Borium, for instance?
uh I'm looking at some of the less exotic but more massive copper, um,
Copper
lead.
would be a good one because it's highly electric, right? So it
Yeah,
would be a good one.
right. Because it even free of the electromagnetic phasing stuff, you know. Anyway, it is a dense material. It is a heavy, massive material,
In fact,
and
yesterday
I think we could.
when you were talking to me yesterday, you explained to me how this a vast amount of copper that exists in the earth could be how the magnetic field itself gains its electrical power.
Right, but not just the metallic copper, the ore too, because it's the molecule, the way it encounters electricity makes a magnetic field, and vice versa. You can induce an electric field by waving a magnet over it. That's how electromagnetic motors work,
Sure, and
and solenoids and everything else.
yeah, it just sprang to me because I don't think I ever heard or read or seen anybody speak about matter in a situation where it's being pulled equally in every single direction. And that's what happens supposedly at this point. And that's where we know that matter is created, at least on stars. We're just trying to descale it a little bit to a planet.
Well, yeah, but they'll tell you that it's the massive pressures, the unimaginable pressures and radiative energy that makes atoms fuse
And I
hydrogen into.
and I would
Yeah,
agree with them because it's that massive pressure combined with the absence or the inverse of gravity in every single direction that breaks the fabric of reality itself to create these new elements into existence.
but at the center, there is no pressure.
Nothing.
Right. There is no pressure. There wouldn't be that great big gravitic pressure at the center because it's pulled away from the center.
Right. Right.
I'm trying to
It's
understand.
it's like more than a vacuum.
It's it's the opposite of the opposite.
It's it's
Right. It's
absolute
the opposite of the current theory.
zero within the totality.
Well, let's see if anyone in the chat has any questions before we finish. I'm not looking at the chat right now. It's the last one is from Steve. So, Rick, any last observations on this subject?
Oh no, I won't make my last observation on this until I die.
For now, where you
Oh,
are
okay.
now with this.
Yeah, there's plenty of material out there, and I'm not talking about the occult versions of this. I'm talking about science. Go research it yourself. I'm not crazy. Okay, maybe I am a little crazy, but I'm not wrong here.
That's what makes you right. So,
Well, you are crazy, just like us, or you wouldn't be here. But you like asking questions, and that's what I like doing too. And when we
But
started
also like
with
using logic.
Yeah, exactly. And I like stretching. I mean, we're all stretching our brains here too, especially just discussing and envisioning this stuff. And that's another thing that makes you the right kind of crazy because, guys, we're not going through books and visual images here. This is just out of our heads. And I'm trying to keep up with you, and doing okay in most parts. But anyhow, that's all we're really doing. And anytime audience, whoever's hung with us this long, anytime we're getting together, that's what we're doing. And, we welcome your participation. We're just looking at some questions in the data, right? I started by telling you that no one can tell you for certain without using these sonic technologies what's down there, right? So we know that much. We know from tests done on the moon, not only on Phobos but our of Mars, but our own moon, that within these giant, circular bodies, there are massive cavities, that are just there. We have myths and lore from around the world, from all different cultures, telling us of this thing, right? That's all. There's a lot of questions about it, and we like asking those. And today, Rick was going to bring to us, as he did, so much science and theory and thought and work that he's put into all of these questions that one comes up against when you start looking at all of these things I just mentioned. So thank you, Rick. Thank you, everybody at home too.
I appreciate the time. I needed to touch base on this one for a while now.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to Mars anomalies. There's your segue.
Yeah, thanks. So coming up, next week, Ricardo, I guess? Man, the time this year is already flying. February 5th with Dave's Multiverse, Brian Corey Dobbs, the award-winning documentary maker of, Blue Planet Red, and John Ward, the South African analyst of NASA-issued photos of Mars. And I believe in our first episode, John and Brian are they use some extremely expensive, highly evolved software in examining these photos and anomalies, and they're going to kind of walk us through a little bit of that, just sort of the how-to. Really, what got me into this was, I use LiDAR the USGS LiDAR app here in the real world, to go out and find stuff in the real world is what I'm trying to say. And so when I saw these guys looking at these anomalies on Mars, I was just having a lot of fun, and it echoed in a very real way, kind of a spooky way, because I can find these anomalies here on Earth and go to them, right? And then that's how I make all my videos and stuff. And then here we're doing it on another planet, and it was just, there's this spooky fun element to it, is why we're kind of getting balls deep, as they say, into the Mars Disclosure Project. Rick, we lost right on the 2-hour mark. Look at that. Is that magic or?
And I have to finish today. This is not finished. It's not the final product yet, but I think it relates to the subject that we've been talking to. So I'm going to finish with a little song. I think it's 3 minutes or something like that I think relates to the inner earth and what we've been talking here today.
Yeah, I think, I think the inner earth intrigues us all. It really does me. And I think however you look at it, right, that the fact that there are these vast cavities, the fact that we have people talking about structures deep within the ocean, and you look at the UFO phenomena, all kinds of phenomena that kind of get answered, even ancient, mythologies, right? By this. So I think it's a very interesting topic. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I don't know if you heard while you were off, you were hearing us or not?
Most of it.
Okay. I was just
okay,
saying
guys.
We're just
Go
going
ahead,
to
Rick.
finish. I just think we're just going to finish with a small song. Before that, Jason, you want to give your final PR, and Rick allows Rick is on X under Rick Silverville. That's how you can find it. I'll put the links afterwards on the video.
Yeah, you're pretty
I'm
good
also
at putting all
Osmon
this
Rick
stuff.
on Threads and
Sorry, go on.
Lost America on TikTok, Lost America on Lemonade. I'm also on Facebook.
And now
Lost America, the show, is on Patreon.
On Patreon, exactly. go there and support this project. It's quite worth it. So Shaman, do your final PR, and I'll put the music
Sure,
to
guys.
get us
Ricardo
out.
always gets the links added in this later on, but find me at YouTube, Shaman711 on X, Shaman711 _ Kind of use X as a home base because I'm on Rumble too. I'm all over spiritual videos, material videos, Mabilla, DeSoto, Antediluvian, Alabama. There's just a lot. Go find me on X and catch us here. We're really appreciative for everybody that's watching now, everybody that's in the chat, everybody that has been part of some of the projects we are working on the side today. It means the world to us, guys, that you're helping us build this thing, right? If you are like us, if you're like Rick, who is getting snowed in, if you're like me, who I don't know how, but I'm just getting rain here in Alabama, or an independent researcher, artist, communicator, activist, and you want to get some information that you have out to the whole, look, we tried to show you here tonight, we can just hang out, you know, and that's what I really appreciate about Rick and Ricardo, both willing to give the time to let's just hang out, let's chat about some knowledge, let's get some knowledge out there. And also, you know, it's crazy weather out there. People are stuck at home, so why not just go live and see who wants to hang out and chat with us. We're going to continue this thing. We're going to try to keep building the audience interaction. We hope to get to the point where we can just send some links to guys in the chat and, you know, bring you on and just join us as questions and things we encounter where somebody has a particular area of expertise. So we really are going to start trying to play with this live thing and this audience interaction. So that's where we're going to go from here, and that's what we were doing tonight, and I'm grateful to all involved. Ricardo, to you, sir.
And I thank you all, and I hope you enjoyed the song, although it's not finished, but it speaks about this subject, I think, somehow. So here it goes, and thank you. A very fond farewell to you all.
Fire fell from iron skies, and oceans boiled and mountains cried. The surface turned to ash and pain. The children of the sun were slain. But Mother opened wide her breast, a cavern deep, a living rest. She sang, "Come home,
Next time.
my frightened ones. The age of burning has begun." Down endless stairs of root and stone, far from the wind, far from the sun, we carried seed and song and flame into her heart that knows no name. 1,000 winters, 10,000 springs, wrapped in the dark on raven wings. She fed us stories, fed us dreams, and cooled our terror with her stream.
The world above forgot our fates. The stars rewrote the ancient
discover. Stone is our sky and her breath is our air. We live in the love that is everywhere.
We became the dream she kept alive, the quiet spark that would survive. In crystal halls we learned her tongue, the silent song the mountain sung. Generations turned to dust and lore, yet still we waited, still we bore the memory of greening rain, the promise of the world again.
Now magma cools and rivers run. The poison sky forgets the sun. She whispers soft, the time has come. My hidden ones awaken, come.
Rise, children, rise from the womb of the mother. The burnt world died and is born to another. Walk on the skin that is cool once more. Carry her fire to the waiting shore.
Her bosom opens wide. We are the seed that never we are home again.
Beautiful. We are.
That was
home.
it. I hope you enjoyed it.
We are home again. Hey, last shout out. Sarah is in the chat, and Jacqueline has been as well. Universe Unveiled. Go find them on X and YouTube, and get ready for their interview with world-renowned archaeologist and specialist on all things basically ancient Americas, Ed Barnhart, Dr. Ed Barnhart, and that's coming out. I forget the date, but next week, this coming week. And Ricardo, we've been doing so much. We're gonna hold our time slot tomorrow night, guys. Which is usually.
No.
Are we moving that?
We can't, because I'm going to be with Ed Cassis at 7. Unless we do it earlier, that's fine by me. Unless we do it earlier, we were planning to do a Q&A tomorrow, I think.
What are you doing with Ed?
He's want me to talk about copper. So I'm taking the
awesome.
opportunity, and I'm going to talk about copper on his show. So
Look at him asking you. Did he ask me? What's going? Ed, what is going on?
Ed, you're fired.
I haven't been on X all day today. Hey, look at that. Hey, Shaman, I'm having Philosopher. He calls you Philosopher. On my stream this week. Maybe you want to stop by next week. Yeah, Ed, absolutely. Okay, so you're going to go see Ed and do some material tomorrow. Well, why don't we, if you're going to do that at 7 Eastern, you just let me know tomorrow, dude.
yeah, we can do. We can do if people want to know now. I think we can do.
You want to prep for? You want to do an hour before or after your show with Ed?
Maybe before, it's better. So
kind of warm you up for Ed. A little
yeah,
bit?
like go at 4 p.m. Yours 3 p.m. So we can have 2
Okay.
hours at ease.
Okay. So we're going to have an afternoon chat, maybe an hour, maybe two. We'll put out notifications through the usual method tomorrow. We just like holding on to something on Sunday because everybody's been expecting. That's what we've been doing from the beginning.
Yeah,
We picked that
sure.
day. So we'll hold on to a little something, guys. Look for it tomorrow. We love you all. Thank you for coming along with
Thank
us on
you
this
all.
journey of discovery. We'll see you then.
Rick, thank you very much for being with us. Much appreciated. And we are out.
Good night, guys.